Well, my name is Zohair, and I have some interview questions for you, and we hope we learn something from it. I'll begin with the first question, which is why is it so important to focus on legal assistance for refugees?
In my experience, I think it's very important because refugees are a vulnerable group, and beyond being a vulnerable group, oftentimes they don't have access to the same legal system, legal opportunities for assistance that nationals in their countries of asylum have. And because the whole issue of refugee status is a legal issue, I mean, who qualifies as a refugee and who doesn't is a legal question. So to have people go into that process without legal assistance is almost like suicide. So there has to be a lawyer who understands what the question is, because believe it or not, those guys are going in to answer a legal question. And I think that's where it comes from. But then beyond the refugee status determination, there are all kinds of challenges that refugees would have in the cause of asylum, which challenges will be particularly amplified because they often do not speak the language, often do not have an appreciation of the legal situation or the legal norms of the country of asylum, or because there's exploitation, there's xenophobia, there's all kinds of discriminatory practices that make it impossible for them to access justice without some form of assistance.
Okay.
Basically.
And what do you think, from your own opinion, are the major challenges that are facing us, and what can we do to overcome them?
Facing us as legal aid service providers? Well, I think one of the major challenges is the fact that in the global south and in Africa, for instance, which I can speak to, there are very few lawyers who have training in refugee law or who have had some form of education on that subject. And refugee law is a very controversial issue. I mean, understanding it, because it touches on public international law, it touches on international human rights law, it touches on international criminal law, it touches on international humanitarian law. So it's such a complex area of law. So the lack of training often affects the willingness to find, or the willingness to go into that area, because most lawyers who have never had any training wouldn't want to go into that. But also it affects the quality of legal assistance that refugees get. And then beyond that is also the fact that there are very few organizations who want to get involved in it, because refugee issue is a political issue, and oftentimes the kind of work that legal aid around refugees present will put you in direct conflict with the political actors, and so many lawyers would rather take the other route and not go down that lane. And then there is the lack of networking, cooperation between organizations that do the same thing. The unique thing about refugees and legal assistance to refugees is that the fact of refuge of seeking asylum already touches on more than one country. The refugee is coming from one country, and so the experiences, the legal framework, the conditions in that country is often important to the assistance that you will be offering in his country of asylum. But very often there isn't that connection between the agencies here and the agencies there. So information isn't shared, there's inadequate knowledge of what is happening around the issues, and it affects the legal rights that refugees enjoy.
Speaking about sharing information, are such conferences and exchanging information useful for your own organization?
I mean, definitely it is. Listening to all these other organizations has first and foremost helped me appreciate some of the situations. It's very easy to look at Europe, for instance, if you're looking from Africa, and think there is a homogeneous refugee system that applies everywhere to everybody the same, and more And often also it happens the other way around. So people talk about Africa and then just look at Africa as if there's just one refugee situation, refugee policy. Everyone is treated in the same way. But when we come together like this and share experiences and share information, we understand the unique circumstances around refugee issues and refugee legal assistance in our different jurisdictions, but also the challenges we face. And in discussing the challenges we face, the ways we can work together. So definitely, I mean, I've had a number of interactions already with conference speakers and other people on ways to, you know, I've picked up best practices. I'm already challenging myself on a number of things. I want to go back and see if I can get my organization to do differently, and if I could have somebody from here talk to people from my organization about what they're doing. So definitely, I think it's very useful. It has been for me.
Okay, nice to hear. Was this also one of the outcomes that you were hoping for at the end of the day?
Yes, it definitely was one of the outcomes, and I think it's been met. And as I continue to explore the relationships that I've started to develop here, it's also going to be progressively met. I also think opportunities like this, you know, legal aid to refugees is not an issue that conferences are usually organized around. It's not a topic that many people want to discuss. This is, I mean, I was excited when I was invited to this conference because the need to talk about this, it cannot be overemphasized. So I'm happy that we had the kind of representation. We had people from government, we had people from the global south, as it's called, and the global north, and legal aid service providers, refugees themselves. And it's an interesting mix when you hear the challenges and the issues that the different other actors have to grapple with. It broadens your understanding of the global situation, but it also helps you explain. I mean, I would never have had the opportunity to share some of the challenges I have working with refugees in Uganda, but hopefully, I mean, judging from the kind of comments that I have had, people would leave here appreciating better the situation of refugees in Uganda. And it's very important because, I mean, it's very easy to sit on the other side of the world and use a checklist to determine which country is safe, which country has good human rights situations, and then assume that any refugee in that country would be safe. And we see increasingly that happening with deportations from Europe and the UK, where, you know, you look at Uganda and you say, oh, no, they have a good track record, you know, human rights to this, freedom of expression, so send him back, he's going to be safe. And we know that's not the situation, because right at the airport they're picked up, you know. So it's interesting to have an opportunity to tell people what you experience on the ground, and hopefully challenge the manner in which they do the work they do, and how it affects the rights of first migrants generally.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you too.